All right, today I wanted to introduce creating spreadsheet equations. And we're going to do that, we're going to look at simulating rolling two six-sided dice. Okay. Um, in order to do that, and we're going to look at creating equations. So equations always start with equal signs, okay? And we're going to be using these commands: random between, count if, sum, and the fill corner. And in the end, you're going to be asked to simulate the two eight-sided dice from the test that we had yesterday. So it's important whenever you're doing commands, once you start with the equals, that tells the computer to start looking down a list of commands that it has stored. Random between picks a random integer between a min and max value that you set. So to simulate a six-sided dice, we're going to say 1, 6. Okay? So let's go in and do that. So fire up, you probably already have Foxfire fire up, but you're going to want to create a spreadsheet in Google Docs. And good practice is always to go ahead and label everything. And I want you to share this with me. So let's start by calling it certain things. So put your name here first. So I'm going to call mine Peter. And then I'm going to call it six-sided dice. So if you could call it your name and then six-sided dice, that would be great. You can say OK. And you can go ahead, just so you don't forget, go ahead and share it with me, and so you can do all that, right? Now, the other thing that I want to emphasize is oftentimes when you get into spreadsheet, it's way more helpful if everything's labeled. So I'm going to call this one die number 1 and this one die number 2. Okay? Number 2. You can call it whatever you want, but just make sure you know what each column. So I'm going to have this column be die number 1, this one be die number 2, and then here I'm going to have the sum of dice. Okay. So first we're going to simulate rolling a dice. So we're going to say equals and then rand. And you can see down here there's random between. And there's a bunch of things about syntax. And you'll see bottom, top, right, which is the same as min and max. If you select it by clicking on it, or you can hit arrow down and hit enter, then this pops up. Okay. I'll give it a little more space. And so then I can say 1, 6. So the 1 represents the bottom, the 6 represents the top, and it'll return integer values between there. So now all I have to do is hit return or enter, and you can see that it's picked 6. Okay. Now let's do that again just so that you can practice that. So equals, and then you can start typing in the command. You see all those different pop up. You can select it and hit 1, 6. Right. Now I want to return a sum of those dice. So once again, I can say I'm entering a command, and I'm just going to say equals, and then I can say sum. Okay, and you can see that it has that it adds them all up, right? And you can see there's lots of different sum commands that we could do, right? But we're going to go with that one. And then it just says range. So all I'm going to do is just click and drag over those two. And then I'm going to hit close the parentheses, and you'll get that. Okay. So now we have die number 1 was a 6, right? Die number 2 was a 3, and then they sum together to be 9. Okay. So we've simulated that now, right? Well, that might have been easier to just roll a dice once, or roll 2 dice once, but now the cool thing about spreadsheets is that we can simulate it 10 times really quickly by highlighting all 3 cells, okay? And then this button right here is called the fill corner. And when I got this little X like this, I can drag that down. And now all of a sudden I've simulated this 10 times. right? Just as easily, I could simulate it 20 times, rolling two dice 20 times, okay? Now, in this, so you can see how that could be pretty cool, and I could do it hundreds of times and thousands of times, and all of a sudden we have a really good big sample size, okay? Now I'm going to do one more thing, is I'm going to ask the computer to count for me. And let's do the number of sums of, what did I say we would look up? Yeah, so we'll do sums of 4. So in other words, whenever the dice sums to 4. Now we know that that probability is not one of the higher probabilities, but we'll see. So here we go. Once again, I'm entering equation, so I'm going to start with an equal sign. And then I'm going to ask it to count if. You can see count if showing here, and it says range and criteria. Now if I say another way to set range is I can hit, if I hit the column, then it'll just look in that column, okay, then comma, and then 4. So there's my command, and I hit enter. Now it goes through here, and what it does is it counts up if it gets a 4. So there's 1 4, there's 2 4s, and you can see that it counts for you. Whoa, that makes that pretty easy, huh? So what I want you guys to do for tonight is to change this spreadsheet so that you simulate 2 8-sided dice and count them when the sum is 9. So think how you have to change the programming, create that, and share it with me. Okay? Should be pretty simple to do, but I just want you to think about it and have that ready tomorrow when we meet. Thanks. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.